This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks, they win their second in a row over the low, very low Orlando Magic, but I don't care. I will take it because the New York Knicks did exactly what they were supposed to do tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what they were supposed to do. They demolished the Orlando Magic, although they did give me a little bit of a scare in the third quarter, right? I'm like, come on, man, what are you guys doing? Don't make it a game. But they came out in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, and they took care of business. They broke the franchise record for threes. And, you know, to be honest with you, they might break that franchise record a couple of times over this season. You know what I'm saying? They just might do it. Josh, what's popping with you, man? How you feel about this game?
Salute, Sam. Salute, man. Salute the panel. Salute the chat. Salute, everyone out there, Knicks Nation. 2-0. Listen, we went down to Orlando and we took care of business straight up. Orlando's going to be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are going to be somewhere at the top of the Eastern Conference, and we won the game by the amount of points that we were supposed to win it by. And that's pretty much it. I mean, listen, that's not, you're supposed to. If you're going to be a top team, if you're going to be an elite team, if you're going to take that step, you're supposed to beat up on teams that you're supposed to. And this is like one of those games where you're supposed to pad the stat sheet a little bit. So, and that's pretty much what the Knicks did. So, I'm excited. We're 2-0, and let's see if we can keep it going.
Yeah, they did that. They did it. Steph, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Josh. We did what we were supposed to do, which is to win. And when we go Sunday, the same thing, So we'll talk a little bit about, I guess, the ins and out of the game, particularly quickly. But yeah, they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, yep, no doubt. And Nate.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts, man?
Like what they both said, just took care of business. It made me kind of think that the Knicks in the past, this was a trap game for them. This was a game coming after a very emotional first game. Played really well, beat a good team. You would expect the Knicks to kind of have a letdown a little bit, especially with tired legs and all that, playing all those minutes, and they didn't. They came out, they put the pedal to the metal, and pretty much just cruised the whole way through. And so, yeah, that's the maturity of a young team that's still learning each other. And so, yeah, they took care of business.
Yeah. Without a doubt, man. When you take a look at the box score, ladies and gentlemen, Julius Randle, for the second night in a row, was teetering on a triple-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. He did have 4 turnovers, all right, but I think you come to expect it from Julius Randle now. Only 16 shots tonight, 9 for 16 from the field, 2 for 6 from the three-point line. He only took 2 free throw attempts. He was 1 for 2 from the free throw line. Good game from Julius Randle. Evan Fournier was second in scoring tonight. Again, he had 18 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. He was 4 for 9 from the three-point line, 5 for 12 from the field altogether. And then you had balance scoring the rest of the way. Emmanuel quickly had 16 points. Alec Burks had 12. Obi Toppin had 13 points in double digits for the second night in a row. Derrick Rose had 12 points. Kemba Walker had 11 points. Nice balance scoring from the Knicks all across the board. Mitchell Robinson gave us a little bit of a scare with his hamstring. A little bit of a scare, but he had 6 points, 9 rebounds. A good game overall from the Knicks, ladies and gentlemen. 34 assists on the night. They shot 50% from the field. They were 24 for 54 from the three-point line for 44%. Just a great game from the Knicks overall, I think. 121 points scored. They only gave up 96. There's some ins and outs to talk about, like Steph said. But for the most part, man, there's not a lot to complain about with this basketball game here. Steph, anything
Yeah.
that you see that you just want to spotlight and talk about with this game?
I thought in the beginning, quickly. I mean, we've talked about this before. It just came in chucking up shots. It was an offensive rebound. He just got in the game. It was an offensive rebound. He dribbled out to the 3-point line, put it up. I thought in the second half, he kind of settled down, played within the flow, of the offense, moving the ball around. But this was the issue with him at the beginning of last season until he settled down and started playing within the flow of the offense. So
Right.
I'm not sure what's going on with him, but that was a concern. Other than that, I can't really think of anything right now.
Yeah, it's hard when you have a game like this. It's hard to figure out. Okay, the Knicks played great. What what do you talk about now? You know what I'm saying? What do you talk about? The Knicks played great.
And Tips took the let the bench players play with
Yeah,
like 3 minutes left. I'm like, wow, what a change. So
yeah. I was telling my dad. I was watching the game with my dad, and I was like, watch. I was like Thibodeau. I was like, this guy. He don't bring the young guys in until 2 minutes. We're up 30. Watch, he don't bring them in until 2 minutes left. And then Kevin Knox got up off the bench. Josh, anything that you that stuck out to you about this game?
So actually, I have three things.
wow.
Okay.
And not necessarily negative things. Not necessarily negative things. So first and foremost, about Quickly, right? I think I'm not worried about Quickly. I think that to me, I think he needs to take those shots a little bit just to try to get used to it and get in the rhythm. He's still figuring himself out in this season. I'm not saying the shots are great or whatever the case may be, but I think that it's going to take a little bit of time for Quickly to get going. He is a shooter. He's a straight up gunslinger. And you have to take those shots to try to get in your rhythm for Quickly. That's number one. Number two, Obi Toppin, right? Obi Toppin, his 13 points or whatever off the bench. And before the season, I was saying Obi Toppin's going to get a lot of major minutes, particularly if the Knicks are going to be steamrolling teams and they're going to be able to put up a lot of points. They don't need to play Julius Randle as much, right? And we're seeing Obi Toppin playing a lot more minutes on the floor. He had 23 minutes tonight, 13 points, and I think 4 or 5 rebounds or whatever the case may be. That's beautiful. If we can get that from Obi Toppin every single night, you can rest Julius Randle a little bit more, and we're talking about playing them together a lot more, right? So I think that's a good thing about Obi. And the last thing I want to talk about is Julius Randle. I think, we were talking about Julius Randle playing a lot of ISO ball. Tonight, we didn't see that. And I think primarily, the reason why he did that a lot in the last game, it's a national televised game. He wanted to show everybody who he was. And I think he was just trying to kind of push that narrative a little bit more. Tonight, playing against Orlando, the Knicks really didn't have to, he didn't really have to take over this game as much. They just played a lot of team basketball tonight. So I expect Julius Randle to really, step up and play those type of isolation basketball games in the big time matchups, like against the Brooklyns, against the the top teams in the Eastern Conference, or anything that's on national TV where he can be able to expose himself to the general public and the national audience. So
I agree with you. I just don't know if choosing, okay, well, I'm going to do it tonight because we're on national TV, or, we're playing against Brooklyn, so now it's tonight when I'm going to go ISO. I think the Knicks need to have a way that they play and just play that way all the time. You know what I'm saying? And if it calls for him to be ISO heavy, then all right, he's ISO heavy. If not, then, just play the style of game that Tom Thibodeau and the team wants to play. I actually think last night had more to do with just the matchups and Tom Thibodeau saying, hey, go at these guys. I kind of think it had more to do with that. You know what I mean? Than it being, and I mean, you could be right, but I just think it had more to do with it being, he had a smaller player on him for a good portion of the night, and Tom Thibodeau wanted him to go after him.
Or it could be a little bit of both.
It could be a little bit of both. Could be a little bit of both. No doubt about it. What do you think about RJ, though, tonight? Didn't play particularly well as far as scoring the basketball. He had seven points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 37.5% from the field, 33% from the free throw line. That just 1 for 3 though, and he was 0 for 5 from the 3-point line. Do you feel at all that RJ right now, with having Fournier and Kemba Walker out there, is having any trouble finding his way, or is it just it's just early in the season and the entire team needs to find some chemistry and he'll find his as well? Well, he'll find his way how he fits into this team concept.
I think there's a little bit of the latter. I think it's a lot of the latter, actually. I think, it's a long season. RJ Barrett will find his way. I've come to accept the fact that RJ Barrett really doesn't have to score that much on this particular team because they have so much firepower elsewhere. They don't need RJ Barrett to step up. I think, towards the end of the season, he will, step it up a lot more, take more shots. Team will rely on him a little bit more. But right now, there's just no need to. The Knicks are still putting up 120 points per game, regardless if RJ Barrett scores, 10, 20, it doesn't really matter. So I think, I'm not really concerned about RJ Barrett at this point. But, I'll say what I got to say about him for another time. Now it's not the right time.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. Now it's not the right time to do it. All right. Steph, what do you think? I mean, I think he's going to come around. I really don't. Yeah. I'm not worried about that at all. I think he's going to come around. But do you think, right now he's just trying to figure out where he fits, between Fournier, Randall, where he fits and what he's supposed to do?
Yeah, I think you're right, Sam. I think he's trying to figure it out. I also think it's not easy to play the toughest opponent's best player and find your offense as well. I think that's part of it. But for me, I kind of suspected this because I always thought that, Fournier would probably be the second option, and then RJ would just get what he can off of the ball movement and off of the other players. So I just think it was an uneven game for him. I think he'll come around. I think he's going to be that two-way player for us. I think he's going to be that glue guy, that multi-cat guy, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, maybe a block, anywhere from 15 to 20 points a game. And I hope people don't see that as him regressing,
Right.
But I think it was just an uneven game tonight.
Right. Do you think right now, these first few games, and maybe even the first 20 games, let's say, he's trying to fit into that, I don't want to say Reggie Bullock mold, but be the Reggie Bullock for this team, meaning be that defender, that glue defender, knock down threes. But of course, we know RJ can do more.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, do you think he's trying to be focused, not trying to be, but focused on playing that role right now? So it's like, listen, I'm not worried about scoring. My focus is on being in this role. And as I get comfortable in this role, now those other parts of my game are going to come.
I hope that's how he's thinking, Sam. Like, I hope he's not getting down on himself because he's not scoring, or he's not a featured part of the offense, or he's not the second leading scorer. I really hope that he's focused on being a lockdown defender, and the other stuff, it comes, in some games you're going to score a lot, in other games you're not. I hope that's his thought process. Yeah. But Kemba last time, I heard Kemba saying he was talking to him the last game, letting him know your shot is going to come, which made me think maybe he is worried about the fact that he wasn't scoring, at least in the Boston game. So I hope that's not his thought process. This team, it's so many options, sometimes you're going to get it, sometimes you're not. His role has changed, really.
Right. And can I add to that? I just think, to simplify things, I think for this particular team, RJ Barrett is a role player, and very important role player. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think he plays his role well, what he does defensively, like Steph was saying, and his ability to play make and do a lot of other things that don't necessarily show up on the box score. So, that's pretty much what I was going to say. RJ Barrett's a role player,
Josh about to rile the chat up.
Right.
Get ready for that.
This was supposed to be an easy night. He about to rile the chat.
Easy night. Easy night. And he comes in and just says Just a role player.
It's nothing.
All he is a role player. There's nothing wrong with that. He's just a role player.
Marvin Smith agrees with you. Got one.
Okay. I mean, first of
And
all,
who's
every
Mark?
player.
You got two.
You know what? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, Josh. I'm gonna play this role, man. Every player in the NBA is a role player.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Not even.
Listen,
Steph Curry's not
but
a role player.
your role may be to score.
Right? Yeah.
Your role may be, to be an all-around player. Your role may be to be the star. Your role might not be to dive on the floor and get the loose balls. Your role may not be to be the tough guy on the team. Your role may not be to defend the best player on the floor. Your role might be to be the star. That might be your role.
David in the chat says,
There
"Do
we
you do you max role players?"
Yeah, facts.
That's a good
Let
point.
me ask you a question. What is Kevin Durant's role on his team?
Oh my
To be
goodness.
the star of the
I'm
team.
serious.
To be the star
What's
of the
his role?
team. He's
What's
the
his
star
role?
of the team.
What's his role, Josh? What's his role?
He's the star of the team, like Nick was saying.
That's his role, right? That's what he's
Mhm.
supposed to do. Okay. So in his role, what's he have to do in his role?
Be the man.
Be the man. What's that
Yeah.
include?
The leader.
Scoring. He's the leader of the team.
He's
He leads them
scoring.
on the court.
Right. He leads them
But
on the
Sim,
court.
role in this
But hold
context
on,
is
but
not.
wait a minute,
Hold on,
let me
wait.
finish. Let me finish. So do you expect KD if
Oh, boy.
Julius Randle starts to push James Harden around? Do you expect KD to be the guy to push Julius Randle and want to fight him? Or do you expect some other role guy to do that?
Some other role got to do it, Sim. But
Right,
hold on.
exactly.
Wait a minute.
The last
Hold on.
person
Role
was able
player.
to get that.
Role
Everybody
player.
has a role.
Role in this context means everyone outside of the guys who are going to lead you. That's what role player means. Like, don't be all literal with it now, Sim, okay?
Listen,
I'm saying there's nothing wrong with RJ Barrett being a
I
role
know
player.
I'm being a little bit facetious. I know what a role player is. I'm just
Playing
saying,
the devil's
stop
advocate
dissing
role.
RJ on a
That's
night
not a-
when we blew out Orlando.
Oh, my goodness. That's not a diss,
Okay,
Sim.
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just messing with you, Josh.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
I mean, the question for me with RJ is he's just not consistent enough for me right now. And like he's got games where he's up, he's got games where he's down, and I guess I'm still trying to figure out, what I'm gonna get from RJ on a consistent night. I know he's given other in areas, which I'm glad he's playing more defense. He's playing better defense. He's getting boards. I guess for me, it's like I don't know. We'll have to see. This is a new season. Every season's different. We've seen players that have been really good one season and regressed the next season. We've seen players that have regressed one season and been good the next season. So this is a whole new season. In 2 games, I've seen RJ score 19 points in Boston game, and I really didn't think he was very much of a huge factor in that game. That was a quiet 19, in my opinion. And then in this game, he scored 7 points against more weaker competition. So I would kind of expecting him to maybe score a little bit more, be a little more comfortable knowing that, hey, this isn't Boston's defense. This is the Magic's team that we don't even know who their starting 5 is. I mean, I don't even know. I have to look at the box score. But the point is, what I'm saying is, Boston's a lot better than Orlando is, and I just expected RJ to maybe
You're
come
breaking up. You're breaking up
Huh?
on us pretty bad, Nate. I don't know what it
Okay.
is, but you're breaking up on us pretty bad. The only thing I would say is Julius Randle scored, 13 or 15 less points, 14 less points. Evan Fournier scored what? 14 less points or something like that. You know what I mean? So, RJ Barrett scored less points. He still played a good basketball game, right? Tom Thibodeau says it all the time. It's not just scoring. He had 7 rebounds, right? The 3rd leading rebounder on the team. Okay. He played good defense. He had a steal. He had a block. 3 assists. I'm not worried about RJ. I'm not worried about it.
It's still a young season. We'll see.
This is the luxury of having a team that we have right now with so much depth. He doesn't need to have this monster game every single night in order for the Knicks to win. You know what I mean? And this is actually good for him. I think good for his growth process. Let him grow. Let him learn different ways to score the basketball. You seen him, today dribble to the right, throw a pump fake, hesitate a little bit, see what Terrence Ross was going to do, and then went ahead and faded it in. You know what I mean? So those are the type of things that he has the ability to learn, and without having to be the guy, without having to be the man. So I'm okay with RJ Barrett right now. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
I am
and I
too.
think he's going to be fine. I'm not worried about um, you know, I know Josh is like, RJ has to average this, that, and the third in order for him to make progress. I'm not of that mindset. Maybe Josh is, but I'm not of that mindset.
But Sim, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
So okay, so RJ averaged 18 points last year. That was his average last year, right? It was 18
right,
points around. Okay.
right. Yep.
So do you think that he has to take an uptick on that scoring in order to elevate this Knicks to being a great team, that a team that can vie for the Eastern Conference Finals? Or do you think he can stay at the same rate, or do you think he could go lower than that because we do have extra firepower?
I think he could stay at the same rate or go lower than that, and the Knicks
Okay.
can still be
Okay.
very, very good.
Okay.
Yeah,
And even
because
better if I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead.
yep. No, go ahead, Steph. Go ahead, Steph. Because I
And
think I was going to say the
possibly,
same.
yeah, and possibly even better if he becomes that defensive stopper,
Yep,
you know.
exactly, exactly.
Sim, I think the conversation with RJ, and I know this game is a throwaway, but my whole take with RJ was based around the notion, one, of RJ's pending contract, his upcoming contract situation, right? Which
Hmm.
people throw out that $100 million number out there, and I think for the role that he plays on this team, I don't think he's worth $100 million, at least not right now, right? So I think that's that aspect of it, and then the other part was the offseason was free agency and trades, right? If RJ Barrett is a role player and we have an opportunity to go get someone else that's a star, a bona fide star to put next to Randall, that's
Dame.
where. Well, no. I mean, any star player, but that's where the conversation about RJ and including him, potentially including him in those trades, that's where that comes from. I'm not saying RJ Barrett is a bad player. I think RJ Barrett is a really good role player for this team. I would like to keep him around long term, but at what price? And if we have an opportunity to go get someone better, that's more than just a role player for this potential team, then that's where I would start including RJ in trades like that. But that's not saying RJ Barrett's playing terrible. RJ Barrett's playing really well for the role that he has on this team, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Well, here's where I'm going to disagree with you, because I think if the Knicks are playing really good basketball, and you know, let's say that they're 16-4 in the first 20 games, and they continue to play at that clip, and they're in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference. Maybe what RJ provides you is exactly what you need, and if you go get someone who is better in that specific role, that you or you think is better in that specific role, the chemistry may not work. He may not provide the same defense, or he may not provide the same shooting, because RJ, fits with this team right now. And I know you know this, but he's in his 3rd season. He may be this role player right now, if that's what you want to call him, but he's not always going to be that. I don't think.
Sim,
Yeah.
can I ask
I
you
don't think he's always going to be that.
Right.
can I ask you a question, Sim?
Yeah.
Do you feel like this team constructed as is right now, can this team get to the finals?
We don't know what this team can do right now. I think we gotta
Give it some
let's
time.
just see them gel. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they become.
Well, I mean, you're talking. I'm just saying. What your point is? You're saying this team could possibly be a top 3 team if things go the right way. That would probably constitute that we could probably get to the finals, because if we're a top 3 team, I mean, we should be in the talks for the Eastern Conference Finals, which lead to the finals, right?
Well, I mean, listen, it could be, it could not be.
Mhm.
I was just using that as an example, saying
Right. No,
if
I
the
get you.
Knicks
I get what you're
were,
saying. Okay.
a top 3 team, and RJ's fitting nicely into this spot here on the team.
Right.
Why do you move it?
Right.
If you can get,
Yeah, you don't miss
unless you're getting
chemistry
a
if
super
if
duper
it's still if
star,
it's working. Right. Right. Exactly.
right? Unless you're getting a super duper star, you know what I
Like
mean?
Dame.
And RJ's I think RJ is going to be all right. I'm not
But
worried
but
about
but
I
but
RJ.
think he's
Sim,
gonna.
Sim, Sim listen. I think again the conversation is just kind of it's not centered right because think about it. The Knicks got rid of Alfred Payton and Reggie Bullock because of last teams. They had chemistry, but the team needed to make an upgrade. So that could have sacrificed chemistry right there in order to get better. So again, and no one's actively saying that we want to actively go out and shop RJ Barrett or anyone on this team. I think everyone here on the panel agrees that we want to keep this team intact, but that's where those conversations about RJ Barrett come from, right? And again, no one's concerned about RJ. I'm not concerned about him. I think it's perfectly fine what he's doing right now. I think this team is going to be successful if he keeps doing what he's doing right now. But again, those conversations will come up when you talk about contracts and when you talk about a free agency or an offseason after which the Knicks get potentially knocked out in the playoffs. These
Or if
conversations
he
are going to come
struggles in
back
more of
up.
these games like he did tonight, if he has
Okay, but
slumpers or something like that.
go ahead, Steph. You're going to say something.
I don't. Listen, everybody is on the table when the Knicks look to make an upgrade, not just RJ. Whoever comes across, whatever trade proposal comes across, the front office is going to look at it and see, does this make our team better now? And does it make our team better in the long term? That's Berg, that's Fournier, that's any of them cats, right? Probably other than Randall and probably RJ too. It probably have to be a really, really strong offer
Like Dame.
for now and the future for them to even think about um, giving up RJ. I just don't. I think RJ is finding his way. I just don't think it's a problem. It's the second game of the season. Um, if they, and listen, our perimeter defense is not great. I mean, I haven't looked at the advanced stats yet, but it's not great. So
Right.
if you're gonna move RJ, you better be moving him for like two stoppers. You know what I mean? You can't just what's an upgrade? Because some fans will think just upgrading to somebody that scores more doesn't necessarily mean it's an upgrade.
Well, if you're bringing
We
a star
need.
player in, that's an upgrade.
It depends.
It
We
depends.
need two-way players on this team.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our first one.
Exactly. We definitely do. I mean, right now we're averaging, what are we averaging? 128, 29 points per game or something like that. I mean, this is right now, and we did this in the preseason at 121 points per game, or 116 points per game. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're gonna have nights when we don't score as well. But from the looks of it, this team is able to score the ball. We definitely need stoppers. And before I move on to the next thing, Josh, you mentioned Alfred Payton and Reggie Bullock, and those guys, they had good chemistry, but we needed an upgrade. Yes, but you know what? Neither one of them had the future ahead of them that RJ Barrett does. RJ Barrett was in his second season last year. He's in his third season now. Reggie Bullock's been in the league for mad years. Alfred Payton's been in the league for mad years. They are who they are. They weren't going to change. They weren't going to particularly get better.
But usually
Sim, you
players
brought
in
up
a
the
good
chemistry word.
season.
I didn't bring up
No,
chemistry.
I
You the one that brought
understand.
that up.
No. I get that. I understand. But there's a difference when you're talking about a player that has chemistry with your team and has the potential to maybe be an all-star. So you look at it and you say, okay, let's ride this out for a couple of years and let the team build. I just don't think, I mean,
You think he has
say
potential? You think he has potential to be an all-star right now based on the games that he's played where he's a role player on this particular team?
it doesn't have to be right now. That's my point.
Okay, but that can be with anybody, Sim. That could be with anyone. You
wasn't
can go
gonna
out and
be
go
with-
get an all-star right now.
It wasn't going to be with Alfred Payton or Reggie Bullock. That wasn't going to be all stars for you.
I
He
know
has
that.
the ability to, I believe he has the ability to be an all-star on his team, and he's just in his third year. And if this team is doing very well, then you say, let's ride it out. Let's see how this team grows. And then if you get to another 2 years, and it's like, yeah, what kind of star? We're not going anywhere. We may need to take another leap forward, but you gotta let
Sim,
the
I'm
seasoning
not
come together,
actively.
bro.
I
You
don't
gotta
want
let
to
the
trade.
seasoning come together.
I don't want to trade RJ Barrett right now. I'm not actively
just
shopping
saying.
him.
But isn't this
Everyone
supposed
is acting
to
like
be
I
his
want
year
to
of pop?
trade this guy.
Isn't this supposed to be the third year is usually when the players start, showing what they can be?
It's just 2 games.
It's
Yeah,
just
It's
two
only
he
two games.
games.
and he's in
It's
I
a
know.
only
he's
two
in a
games.
So
different
that's
role.
what I'm saying. So I mean, obviously, when we see a big
You said show him
sample
what he
size,
can be. Did he not show what he could be last year? He averaged 18 points a game on a playoff team. So I mean, come on. Let's give him some grace and give him time to grow.
no, I
That's why
get it.
I don't
I'm
want to
just
trade
saying.
him, everyone.
That's what
Okay. All
I'm
right.
saying. So
All
year
right.
3 should be his. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a year 2 player then. And Nate, I don't know what you got to do. I don't know if you got to adjust some things, get closer to the internet, but you're popping. You sound like Rice Krispies over there.
Yeah, I like Rice Krispies.
But Obi Toppin, another, I think 14 points against Boston was his career high, I believe. He scored 13 tonight. That's the second most he's scored in an NBA game. He's looking really good. He was comfortable behind the 3-point line tonight. Let me get the box score back up here. Obi Toppin tonight was 2 for 4 from the 3-point line. He's getting more and more comfortable. He played 23 minutes. Julius Randle played 30 minutes. We've seen the small ball lineup again tonight, right? When Mitch went out, grabbing his hamstring, Obi Toppin came in, right? Steph, what's your thoughts right now on what you're seeing from Obi? Do you think this is a mainstay for him right now?
Yes. Yes. And what I like is it's not just in transition. That's part of it. But he also moves the ball offensively, and he's hitting the three.
Mhm.
And his defense is okay. I'm not gonna say it's spectacular, but it's okay enough that, Tibbs is feeling comfortable going to the small ball. So I like what I'm seeing from Obi.
Yeah, I like it. Josh, what do you think? I see right now, Tay 234 says Tibbs likes that Randall and Obi combo, and that's good. Do you like that combination with them on the floor?
Absolutely. I've always loved that combination. I think I didn't expect to see it much, but it looks like Tibbs is gonna employ it. And it's working. They're faster. They're able to switch a little bit on defense. They're able to get turnovers. They're able to get out in transition a little bit more. And I just think for both Randall and Obi, it just creates a lot of mismatches for them and advantageous matchups against the opposition where we can be able to score some points. So I really, really like it. It's not a terrible defensive lineup, so to speak. I think it holds its own. My next thing with that particular lineup is when the game slows down, are they going to be able to, employ that lineup? Because I think teams with better ball handling, with smarter players on the floor, like Miami, so to speak, I think a team like that can kind of pick apart that lineup a little bit more. But we got to be able to see. I think after the 2 games and the 2 games in the preseason that we play that lineup, I think that it's nothing but good things. But we still have to see, how it's going to perform later in the season when the games start to slow down a little bit more.
Right, true. Shout out to Joe D. He says for the super chat. He said, "Shout to the chat, big win. Thanks for all you do, MBK fan. Appreciate you, Joe D. Thank you for being here." I think it's good that we play this schedule now, and you're able to play Obi and Randall together, so you can really get a chance to work out some kinks with the lineup, figure out how to play defensively with that lineup. So I think this is really, really good for the Knicks, to be able to work on this lineup a little bit now, and then maybe you can start to see them force teams to adjust. Right? If a team is playing big and you say, you know what, let's try to go with Obi and Randall, with Randall at the 5. Now Randall can take these bigger guys out on the perimeter, and teams might be like, okay, we need to adjust. And now let's go small, and then let Randall and Obi be able to take advantage of smaller players or players their size. So this could be a really big luxury for the Knicks if they're able to make it work against better teams and against good teams, and teams that have bigger players, because that's something that we struggle with. Teams that have guys like Clint Capella and Joel Embiid, we struggle with those guys. If for moments during the game we can make them say, okay, we got to take Embiid out because they're going small, that could
Right.
benefit us greatly. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, when it came down to stretch, they're not going to do that. They're going to keep Embiid in, but for a little while, you might be able to neutralize some of his size by going small. You know what I mean? So I'm liking the fact that we have a chance to work this lineup out. Obviously, Boston was a good team, but that worked for us because they're small. Now we got Orlando for 2 games. You know what I mean? We got a chance to work on the lineup a little bit and see what Obi can give us in some of these extended minutes. Nate, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I think this is what Leon Rose probably sold to Tibbs about this drafting Obi Toppin, envisioning these two playing together in certain parts of the game. I will say this: until we see Noel back in the rotation, I still think this is just kind of right now just a kind of a if we need a situation happen, if Mitch goes down or needs rest or something like that, or Jericho, he don't want to put Jericho in, we'll use this lineup. But I think once Noel comes back healthy and in the rotation, I definitely do think that they need that rim protection. I think you'll see Noel out there with Randall.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think that right now it's a good lineup to use at this point because you don't have Noel and you don't have uh Taj, but I think it's allowing Tom Thibodeau to say, you know what, this could actually work for us. This could be a strong lineup for us, and just gives you another option that you can use. Another option that you can use. Now, do you think, Josh, when Nerlens Noel comes back, Taj Gibson comes back, we continue to see this lineup now because then it becomes a little bit harder to put that lineup on the floor?
I think it all depends on how the team's playing. I think it depends on who we're playing, the matchups. Like I mentioned previously, I think that's when we'll be able to figure out if Tibbs is going to take that lineup off the floor. But I think it's working right now. We should continue to use it if the matchup works in our favor. But we can't just put Nerlens Noel on the floor just for the sake of putting them out there, or Taj Gibson on the floor just for the sake of putting them out there. I think everything has to it really has to depend on the team that we're playing that night, and if the matchup works, then let's go ahead and use it. Because offensively, Nerlens Noel is not going to give you much. Taj Gibson can knock down a little bit of shots, but offensively, he's not really a threat out there. I think that lineup of Randall and Obi is very, very offensively just, gifted offensively. And if they can hold their own defensively, at least just hold their own. I mean, they're not going to be better than Nerlens Noel and Taj Gibson back there on defense, but if they can just hold their own and not give up easy baskets, I think this is the best lineup you can have out there, to be honest with you.
The best lineup you can have out.
Secondary. This is best secondary lineup outside the starters.
Okay.
I think it depends on the matchups as well. Like Josh said, this is going to be a tough call because they paid Noel to back up Mitch, right? So you're going to have Obi, that small ball lineup, be the second, the second, what do you call it, rotation in the game before Noel. I think it's gonna depend. That being said, if you don't do it, that really limits Obi's minutes because where else can he play?
Right.
Where else can he play? So if you're gonna go with Noel, that means he's strictly backing up Randall, and that limits his minutes. So that's an interesting dilemma.
It is. It is a very interesting dilemma because, in some ways, if Jericho Sims, they're using Jericho Sims. He didn't play a lot of minutes tonight, right? And maybe they're slowly moving Jericho Sims into the offense, or not into the offense, into getting more playing time. He had 9 minutes and 45 seconds tonight. But if Jericho Sims becomes a guy that he gave us in those 9 minutes and 45 seconds, he gave us 2 points and 4 rebounds. All right, 1 steal. If he becomes a guy that you can put out there on the floor, maybe Nerlens Noel now becomes expendable, right? And you can roll with the Obi and Julius Randle. And then if you need more size, you can say, well, we'll go with Jericho. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then Nerlens Noel becomes, expendable, talking about trades and things like that. I guess we'll see, because if, putting Nerlens Noel on the floor, I mean, it's going to limit your offense. It's going to limit your options out there on the offensive side of the floor. Obviously, you
Yeah.
need him out there for defense, to be a guy in the second unit that can erase mistakes. It's definitely a difficult one. That's going to be a
It
difficult
is.
choice that Tom Thibodeau has.
Sermon and Josh, if we were to move Noel, and I know this is premature, would you move him for another wing player or for a defensive point guard um, with some experience, just in case we need that down the stretch?
Personally, for me, I would do a wing player as of right now. Someone a defensive wing player, someone that can play defense. Probably spell RJ a little bit more. So RJ doesn't get burned out playing all of those minutes. I think we have a lot of guards that can come in and fill. Even though Quickly, didn't shoot well the last game, he shot well tonight. So I expect him to pick it up. I like Grimes. I like McBride. Even though he hasn't played that much, so we have enough guards. Really, I'm worried about our wing depth more than anything. I think I'm concerned about wings.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think I'd go with, a wing that can defend, so that RJ can get a break. Like a guy that can really, really defend and be a lockdown defender. I think that might be, and one that can go and play between the two, the 1, the 2, and the 3, so that you can
Yeah.
use him to spell Kemba, to spell Rose, to spell RJ,
Right.
when you need him to, and they can be an all around defender.
Right.
I wouldn't mind having a guy like that out there on the floor. Quentin Grimes could one day be that guy. I don't
Yeah.
know if Thibodeau trusts him enough now, but he trusts him a little bit.
Hmm.
He's becoming, like, out of those situational guys, the first guy to get in. It seems like right now. So,
Right.
he could maybe one day be that guy.
Right. And we talking about RJ in the trade. I think if he starts to really trust Grimes, I'm not saying they would look to trade Quickly, but if an offer came across the table and Quickly was in that package that another team wanted, I think they would maybe think about it, knowing that they had Grimes. I'm not
Right.
saying they would do it, but they would probably think about it.
Right.
And that's the whole point. No one on this team, to me, outside of Julius Randle, is untradeable. Like, especially all these role players, like, and no one's actively putting them out there. No one's saying, okay, I'm putting this guy on the trade block. But we got to start thinking about how to improve this team. I mean, if we don't think about it right now, it's going to come up in the offseason. So
No,
there you
I
go.
I
mean,
think
there's
it's
no
gonna come
doubt.
up
Yeah,
before that.
it's gonna come up before that, without a doubt. You know, um, we'll see. Big shout out to Michael Parker. Thank you for the super chat. And let me get this thing off the screen so you can see the super chat. There you go. He says, salute Knicks Nation. A special shout out to Stephanie. It was a pleasure meeting you outside the garden on opening night. A true gem, the first lady of the Knicks podcast, and salute. There's no doubt
Appreciate
about
you.
that.
Appreciate you.
No doubt about that. Thank you, Michael Parker. We really appreciate it.
Definitely.
I do want to get to, there was another, I missed. I wanted to put it up. I should have put it up on the screen, but I didn't get a chance to. But someone in the chat asked us to talk about the pairing between Julius Randle and Evan Fournier and the chemistry that those two guys might be building. And yeah, I mean, I think they are beginning to build some chemistry. So much so, or to the point that maybe it was in the, I don't know, maybe it was in the second half. Kemba Walker was open at the top of the key, and Julius Randle passes it past, Julius Randle to Evan Fournier, and maybe just trying to, him trying to build that chemistry with him. What do you think about it, though? Do you think it can develop to be as good as what we saw from Reggie Bullock and Julius Randle. I thought their chemistry was good together. I think it can, and I think it can even be better because of what Evan Fournier can do.
I
Steph, what
agree
do you
with you.
think?
I agree with you, Sam. I think it's going to be better. Um, and it's good that he's trusting him. But Fournier is just much more dynamic than Bullock. We've said this all along. Could put the ball on the floor. He could look for other players once he gets the ball. And I like the fact that Fournier looks for Mitch. Like even today with the wraparound pass, we just got to really get better with our bigs, hitting our bigs as they slice down the lane.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think he is trusting him, and I think that's going to be huge for us. I think that's going to be huge for us. That tandem, those two.
I do. I do too. Josh?
I absolutely think that can be a better pairing than Reggie Bullock and Julius Randle, just for the simple fact that Evan Fournier can do more with the basketball in his hand. Just for that alone, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, and Tibbs kind of realized it too. When Julius Randle was going ISO, ISO, ISO towards the end of that Boston game in regulation, Tibbs called the timeout. They ran a play, a two-man game play between Julius Randle and Evan Fournier, and it was just money on the money. That pick and pop, boom, boom, boom. So I really, really like that pairing. I really, really like that those guys together on the floor. And I think, it's going to be much better than what Reggie Bullock and Julius Randle did last season. You won't see as much ISO with those guys on the floor together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I think that they can really develop it, which again points to maybe Evan Fournier. If he's doing that much with Randall, points to him, he's gonna have the ball in his hands a lot. And he's gonna be working with the guy in Julius Randle that draws a lot of attention. He's gonna get a lot of touches, probably be your second player on the team, right? Your second option. Um, Steph, you brought it up. We've seen a couple of good passes already between Fournier and Mitch. Can you see that becoming a tandem that is
Yeah.
devastating?
Yeah. And it doesn't even matter how Fournier gets the ball, whether it's off the two man game with Randall, whether it's Kimba passing him the ball. The thing about Fournier, he just plays basketball. Like he doesn't have tunnel vision. He's able to see. His peripheral vision is good. Um, and I don't know. It's like when it comes to Mitch, they act like he's not on the floor. Unless it's an offensive rebound, he's just not
Right.
on the floor. I mean, I get it. He's not going to hit the jumper. You can't post him up. But when he's rolling to the basket, like he's a big target and he has really good hands, and they miss him a lot, and
Yeah.
Fournier doesn't. So I do see that becoming a really good tandem as well.
Yeah. And you can see it right now from the beginning. They just have not used Mitchell Robinson a lot at all on the offensive side. And
Yeah.
in the screen and roll,
Yeah.
anything. They haven't used them.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see where that goes and how that develops. But I'm surprised because they used them a lot last year. Maybe teams are better at cutting it off. You know, uh, uh, Pinching in and stopping that screen and roll from happening. Or
Maybe.
maybe it's just the chemistry with Mitchell Robinson and Kemba Walker just hasn't materialized yet or hasn't developed enough yet. Kemba Walker tonight, he had 11 points, one assist, one steal, one block. He played 21 minutes, 4 for 8 from the field, 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. And then, you know, I'm waiting to see that game. I'm looking forward to seeing that game when Kemba Walker is going to explode and really put it out there. But I said early, and who was it? Mark. Mark disagreed with me. Said that there's no way that Evan Fournier was going to be the second option.
Oh,
You muted,
I
Sam.
can't. Yeah, you muted. Can't hear you. just.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me just say, um, from the beginning, I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Fournier was our second leading scorer and the second best player on the team. And I believe Nate and maybe some other people were hoping that it was RJ. But I just felt that with the experience Fournier had, even with the experience Kimba had, Kimba being the number one option on his team, I just didn't think that RJ would be the second leading scorer on this team. Now, he may wind up being the second best player, even if he's not the second leading scorer, depending on what he does for us defensively, and if he's averaging 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, a block, and only averaging 15 points a game, he definitely could be our second best player. But I said that people were sleeping on Fournier. I just watched him in Orlando. I liked his game. I thought he would fit like a glove. And Josh, I didn't have a problem with DeRozan either if he would have came, but because
The thing,
he's killing in Chicago.
the thing about
Um,
the thing
but
about
let
oh,
me
sorry,
just
go
let me
ahead.
just yeah. But I'm not surprised that he's looking to be looking to be our second leading scorer. Go ahead, Nate.
The thing about with Fournier is he doesn't fit your typical European that's more soft on defense and more not as aggressive. He's a very aggressive player. He has a very aggressive mindset. Even the way he kind of talks, like when he talked about like, oh, my parents did judo and I could probably kick your butt. I could probably kick your butt, or they could kick your butt too. Just that mentality, the way he kind of goes at Kevin Durant talking something about his hair, or,
Right,
he doesn't have any fear in his body. He's a very
right,
aggressive player. He plays very aggressive. I like that. I mean, I think Nick fans is a breath of fresh air because you don't see any timidness in this guy. He's very confident in what he's doing. He thinks every time he shoots the ball, it's going to go in. And that also comes too when you watched him in the Olympics. He's just been a baller. I mean, I knew when we signed him, I was like, okay, this guy is going to be a scoring machine for us. He's going to be able to put the ball in the bucket and do it in many different ways.
right,
Can I add always? I'm also so Raymond Leonard in the chat is saying we said that Evan was overpaid. I know I said that, right? And the only reason
right,
I did because at the time the Knicks really didn't have much money to go out and sign all the rest of the point guards that were on the market, right? We had no idea at the time that Kemba Walker was going to get bought out and we were going to get him for basically 20 cents on the dollar essentially, right? So that was the reason why that came from about Evan Fournier being overpaid and the Knicks not necessarily using their money to their best, to their best way.
Not only that, but we
So,
had. Oh, go. Sorry, go, Josh.
well, yeah. I mean, I think Evan Fournier as a player, I think he is worth $20 million. I would definitely say that. I think he's worth $20 million per year easily, based on what he's done in the NBA. But listen, I think at the time, I think the Knicks didn't have a point guard, and I was really more frustrated about that than anything else.
On top of that, the reality is that, I mean, we struck out on a lot of good players. We had to overpay him. Let's just be real. We
but
had
we
to
didn't. He
overpay him.
played. It was
But I'm,
$17 million. I don't even know
but what,
if is that an overpay? $17 million for a guy that can do what he does? Nate, I think it's your mic. I don't think it's the modem. You may have to like unplug it and plug it back in, like your
Yeah,
headphones. Like there's a short or something in it,
okay.
or it's
yeah,
not all the way plugged in.
No, it's fine.
right. Yeah, it's real. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Somehow, some way, I don't know. Something it just went off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I was saying, and I still here we're still talking about Fournier and Kemba and everyone. First of all, as far as Fournier being overpaid, I don't think he's overpaid. People keep saying we overpaid for him. I don't think he's overpaid. He's making less than $20 million a year. And so far, I mean, I mean, you see it. I don't think we need to even say any more about it. But Kemba, in the beginning of the season, I had an argument with Mark. and we were talking about who was going to be the first, second, and third option. And he was like, Kemba's definitely going to be the second option. Da 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 da. Right? I just didn't think so. I thought that Kemba was going to come into this season and be more of a distributor. Too
Right.
many other scoring options on the floor,
Right.
I thought. Right? And he didn't need to be a primary scorer. And I think we're seeing it already. And I think Kemba is okay with that. It's going to help
Yes.
preserve his knees.
Right.
You know what I mean? It gives you a point guard that can handle the basketball. He can shoot off the dribble. He can knock down a three. He can go to the basket, but you don't need him to do it all the time. He can just come in and distribute. And I think that's going to be his role this year,
Right.
distributing the basketball. Let
Right.
Fournier, let Julius Randle, let RJ, let those guys do the scoring. And I think that's what Kemba Walker's going to be this year, and maybe going forward for the remainder of his career. To be honest with you.
Wow.
And that might be exactly what it might be good for the Knicks, especially if Randall continues to get better, if Fournier gets better, and RJ gets better. You know what I mean? Maybe you only need a point guard that can distribute the basketball, but also be able to shoot and do those other things when it's necessary.
Right.
We'll see where it goes and how it develops. Looking at some of the stats that's on the screen, uh, the Magic did out rebound the Knicks 53-34. The Knicks had 34 assists. The Magic had 24, 10 steals for the Knicks, 5 for the Magic, 4 blocks for the Knicks, 3 for the Magic, only 11 turnovers for the Knicks. I like that. We had 17 turnovers versus the Boston Celtics. We come back, take care of the ball, only have 11. We shot 50% from the field. The Magic shot 39.8% from the field. The Knicks shot 44% from three. The Magic shot 39.5% from three. The Knicks only shot 52.9% from the free throw line. We didn't shoot that well from the free throw line against Boston either. That's something that we're going to have to, we're going to need to get that together. Both teams had 32 points in the paint. Both teams had 9 second chance points. The Knicks had 24 fast break points, which I really loved to hear.
Absolutely. Yep.
Really love to see that. And Orlando had 13 fast break points. And before I even come to either one of you about those numbers, did you hear when Obi Toppin got a fast break dunk? It sounded like the Knicks were at the Garden. I don't know if I've ever heard an away arena, have that many fans for the opposing team. The fans
Yeah.
started chanting, "Let's go Knicks." And I mean, you could hear it loud and clear, just like they were at the Garden.
Yep.
That was I was like, okay, I guess it's just nobody in Orlando cares about basketball. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was something. Good numbers for the Knicks, man. I mean, listen, we talked about them shooting threes, and if that was going to be a weapon of theirs, and it's clearly a weapon. 54, I think 54 attempts tonight. They made 24 of them. Yeah, that's it's going to be a huge weapon all season long, and I think they might break that franchise record a couple times over.
Yeah.
Couple times over. All right. Well, we play Orlando again on Sunday. This time at the Garden. I
Matinee
expect the
affair?
Knicks. No, it's at 7. Game starts at 7.
At night. Okay.
Yep, game starts at 7. I want the Knicks to do the same thing. Orlando's going to come back and try to play a little tough. They're going to look at the third quarter when they made a big run against the Knicks, and the Knicks are up 36 points or whatever it is, and they shaved the lead to 19. They're going to look at that and say, "See, we can play with these guys." But I want the Knicks to smack them again.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to smack them again. Steph, what do you think? Looking at the next game,
Mm-hmm.
what's your take on the next game versus Orlando?
I think we win. I mean, sometimes I'm concerned about playing a team twice, back to back. It's hard to get that
Mm-hmm.
second game, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time. Um, and plus, it's going to be at home, and I think the Knicks are focused. So I anticipate that we're going to win. I mean, I think they're going to put up a better showing, but we still going to win by more than 10.
Yeah, I think so too. Josh?
I think it's more the same. I don't think this Orlando team can compete with this Knicks team. I think we're too deep. I think we can beat you in multiple different ways. I think we're going to be home. We're going to be home at the Garden, so that's even another
Right.
plus. And who knows? We might have Taj Gibson back to spell Mitch a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know when Taj coming off his baby leave or not. Maybe it is Sunday, and I think he can be there to spell Mitch. We don't have to go to that small ball lineup as much. So I think it's going to be more the same. I think the Knicks are going to be 3-0 going into next week.
Okay. How important is it for the Knicks to be 3-0 going into Tuesday night's game against Philadelphia? It's on TNT. Philadelphia right now is 1-1. The Knicks are 2-0. They beat
Philly lost.
Orlando.
Philly
lost.
lost.
They're 1-1.
Mm.
Yep. How important is it for the Knicks to go into that game 3-0?
Absolutely important.
Absolutely.
Because listen, Orlando is a team you expect to beat, right? Boston, that game could go either way. Knicks fans think that Boston sucks, and Boston fans think that the Knicks suck, right? So that game can go either way, either way too. So at worst case scenario, you expect that the 3 games to go 2-1. To go 3-0, going into a game against Philly, who's a perennial Eastern Conference powerhouse, I think it's big because if you lose that game, it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things as far as the record, right? Knicks would be probably 3-1 if they lose that game. So 3-0 is very, very important, and I want to go 4-0. Right. So, I think this game against Philly is going to tell us a lot early on this season about who this Knicks team really is. And let's see if we can be able to stop the juggernaut that is Philly with or without Ben Simmons.
Okay. A couple of score. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steph.
No, I agree.
Okay. A couple scores around the league. Charlotte, they beat Cleveland 123-112. Washington beat Indiana 135-134. Toronto blew out Boston 115-83.
Without Horford.
Yeah. Philadelphia lost to Brooklyn. I can't see the score right now. I don't know why it's not letting me see the score, but Philadelphia lost to Brooklyn. Chicago beat New Orleans 128-112. Houston beat OKC 124-91. And a couple of games in progress right now. Denver is leading San Antonio by 10 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And the Lakers are playing Phoenix on ESPN. The score is tied 26-26. And Sacramento is beating Utah 29-24 with 10 minutes remaining in the second quarter. Yep, that's what's going on around the NBA right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably too early to look at standings and things like that, but I look at it all the time. So right now, the Washington Wizards, they're 2-0 on top of the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are 2-0 in second place. You got Chicago, they're 2-0. Charlotte's 2-0. Miami's 1-0. Atlanta's 1-0. Milwaukee's 1-1. Brooklyn's 1-1. Philadelphia's 1-1. Toronto's 1-1. Right? You got Detroit, Indiana, Cleveland, Boston, and Orlando are all winless. Neither one of them have won a game.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So see how this thing shakes out. See how it shakes loose, ladies and gentlemen. Any last words you want to get in, Josh, before we get up out of here?
I just want to reiterate to the chat, I don't want to trade anybody on this team right now. Please stop saying that. I don't want to trade RJ. I don't want to do anything without even thinking, okay? I love this current team, the way it's currently constructed. I want to see this team play more important games. That's why the game on Tuesday against Philly is very, very important. And, for the rest of the season, when we start playing these big time Eastern Conference teams at the top who we're chasing, let's be honest. I want to see us go against that and ultimately end the playoffs, right? I want to see how we perform against these teams in the playoffs. I know we still have a long way to go. Let's get there first. Let's enjoy the ride on the way there, and let's go Knicks 2-0. All
right, Steph.
Yeah, let's get this game against Orlando. Beat the teams we're supposed to beat. Is Philly game at Philly?
No, it's in New York.
Oh, yeah, we got to win that game too.
Yeah.
They in turmoil with Ben Simmons,
That's what I'm saying.
They got Maxey starting at the point guard position. Kirk Mods, who I like him, backing him up. I think it's a good opportunity for us to go 4-0.
Exactly, and just get a head start, get a jump start on that Atlantic Division because we beat Boston, and if we beat Philly, we would have already beaten 2 of the teams in our conference, and
Right.
in our division. You know what I mean? And just get a nice jump start.
Yep.
On that Atlantic division. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the patience. Of course, I'm not in the studio, so sometimes we're gonna have some technical difficulties. So I appreciate you guys' patience as we continue to broadcast and root on for our New York Knicks, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Be peaceful and talk to you real soon, ladies and gentlemen. Spread love. We are out of here.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the